Konbawa, welcome to Katajima, Japanese engaged in Great Britain, or British Isles, England, not in Japan basically. Yes, so I'm calling this video 3 Locos, 1 boiler. And that is because all 3 of these engines share the same design of boiler. And that's the crux of it basically. You didn't take a genius for that, I suppose. But yes, each one uses either the same boiler, or in one case it is a development of that boiler, or a version of that boiler, but they're essentially the same boilers. So from left to right, we have the D52, then we have the C62, and then the E10. The models in question are, left to right again, Micro Race, Kato, and Micro Race. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them all hooked up. They'll all be putting the same freight train, which is going to be one of the few times you see a C62 on my channel pull a freight train. So, add a little bonus for you guys there, you folks out there. So, yes, that's what we're going for here. Okay, so without much further ado, let's get the first one to the track. Will be the D52, it's the appropriate place to start, and we'll talk a little bit about it and go from there. So first and foremost, we have this, the D52. Now really getting into its stride. Turn it down a bit. D52, as far as I can tell now, if you do know more, do feel free to correct me down in the comments below, is the development of D51, larger boiler, built for heavier trains. Would see work on both freight and passenger. And really, as I say, it's the start of our boiler's journey. I have evidence of them working into the 70s. I've seen evidence of that. I've seen lots of evidence of them working passenger trains actually in their latter days, which is kind of interesting for such a big freight locomotive like this. I mean, here in the UK, 9Fs, the standard 9Fs, 210 heavy freight engines became quite famous for pulling passenger trains such as the Pinewood Express on the Somerset and Dorset and amongst other services, and indeed around the country. From the videos I've seen, they were capable of quite a turn of speed. No idea on exact figures. I'm afraid I haven't got exact figures for everything. If you understand where I am with Japanese rail is, I have to, obviously I'll start with Wikipedia because you can hit the translate button on the browser. So I get machine translation from Wikipedia, and I have to sort of piece together the rest from photographs and videos and sort of go, that's how that's working. So yeah, you know, do my best for you. But yes, D52 is here. This is what I've witnessed. And again, he's speeding up there. Slow down. If you like that, I'll look at you. So yes, as I said before, this model is by Micro Race. So far, the only manufacturer I've seen that does D52 in this scale, and that's one of the reasons why I'm a bit confused why people snub. Well, one person in particular I've come across snubbed Micro Race when it came to looking at their models, saying, oh, they're not as detailed and not as nice as Kato's, and that, well, possibly not, but they don't, no one else does these. And the E10, you can see sat in the background, so which is rather nice that it's in the background there, but yeah, so this is D52, so basically that's all I've got for you on that one, I'm afraid. There are some preserves, sorry, I have got some more, there are some preserves, which is really cool to see. None steam, but as I understand it from what I've seen again, route availability might be an issue with them, as opposed to a D51. There's at least two D51s that steam, D51 200, D51 498, and one's for JR East, one's for JR West, and that basically is my theory on why it was interested in the D52. Okay, so just a little heads up. For two of these engines, you'll see a caboose behind the tender, or behind the locomotive. On the Kato model, that will disappear. So next shot, that's going to disappear. It's nothing to do with the haulage capacity of the Kato model. It is purely to do with the fact that it's my converter wagon to take from the Rapido or Arnold style coupler to the Kato knuckle. So I'm just going to bring it in here. Bring it to a stop. I'll tell you what, I'll bring it up to the camera, shall I? So that is the beginning of our boiler's journey, is with this engine, the D52. It's a Mikado, by the way, like the D51. Okay, so next. So that brings me on to our number 2 engine, and this is the one that uses the first next use of the D52's boiler that I know of. This is the C62, here represented by a beautiful Kato model, with the indignity of a goods train, yes, you know the reference. So, yes, the C62 is a 464 or Baltic rear engine, express passenger locomotive primarily. One of my personal favourite locomotives in Japan, after my beloved D51-200, is a C62, C62 number 2. Why? Because my name is Christopher. C. There we go. And for those who don't know, my great uncle flew Avro Lancasters with 622 Squadron out of Irish Mildenhall during the Second World War. So 622. I used to use it as my handle on YouTube and that, Lancaster 622, my email and everything. Not anymore, so don't bother trying to email it. It don't exist anymore. But not with me anyway. So I don't know if anyone wants to picture it, but yes. It just made sense when I first got into Japanese trains and I saw this. Oh, it's engine C62 or C62. It made sense. It's brilliant. But anyway, so C62s. Not only do they use the same boiler as the D52, they literally use the same boiler as the D52. As far as I can see, at least the first batch used D52 boilers from former class members. And in fact, some of the preserved ones actually carry those D52 boilers still, which is amazing. Now, I'm not sure if they just decided the D52s they took them from weren't needed anymore, or whether they were knackered or whatever the reason was, but the boilers were then put onto these new locomotives. C62s become quite famous, quite legendary from what I've seen. Again, like I say, I'm piecing it all together as much as I can. They seem to become quite legendary in Japanese post-war steam, particularly pulling some of those big express trains, such as the famous double-headed ones. I mean, wow, some really cool videos and pictures of these trains double-headed. 2 of these C62s, and ahead of a very long train of carriages, passenger cars, whatever you want to say. I have such a set and have run it on streams and on videos and that. Perhaps I will look at trying to find out a bit more about the C62s and do an in-depth video on them themselves, and when you're doing that, we'll see them pulling that express as part of it. Now, unusual for a C62 to be pulling a freight, but apart from the fact that I haven't got any photographs to prove it, I wouldn't be surprised if this happened. Most engines I've seen in Japan have turned their hands to, or wheels really, should be using the appropriate vernacular, wheels to passenger and freight turns and mixed trains. So I wouldn't be shocked if a C62 had pulled a freight train in the past. It's certainly the first time I've done it. So a little bit about the C62s beyond that. So a C62 actually holds the speed record for narrow gauge steam. This was set by C62-17 and it is a speed of 85 miles an hour, which, when you consider the gauge is 3'6", is shifting some. Especially as most of the track these things ran on would have been single track like this. Now, when I was designing a layout, briefly going off on a tangent here, when I'm designing a layout, I was thinking about, oh, double track, get more trains running. But the fact here remains that most of the track in Japan that I've seen the steam running on, including those big double-headed expresses I was talking about a minute ago, were on single track. Token exchange single track. You know, and it's not even a Whittaker exchange apparatus on the engine. They're literally hanging the hoop with the token in by hand out the cab, and there's like a pole on the platform with a spiral on the top. You hook it around the top of the spiral and it swings round and down to platform level for the chap to pick up there. So yeah, you know, like that's something I might bear in mind. Now I suspect that the 85 miles an hour is achieved on one of the double track sections with a clear road ahead, obviously. But yes, that locomotive is still with us and is preserved at the Shinkansen Museum, or at Maglev Museum these days. But yes, it is preserved on display. You can go and see it in Japan. It's awesome. Awesome is it's still with us because it's really important. Like, it's every bit as important as Mallard, Flying Scotsman, City of Truro. Oh, got the dubious one in there. I'll let you make up your mind which one it was. But yes, so a very capable locomotive, and again served right through to the end of steam. Several are preserved, I'm really pleased to say. C62-1 I believe is, 62-2 is obviously, 62-3, and then there's some of the other ones like 17 and I believe 18's around still. But yes, there's quite a few still with us. Of those, C62-2 and C62-3 have both steamed. And in fact, I believe C62-2 has still got a current boiler ticket, seeing as it was only operating the other day, really. But yes, so that's the C62. That's as much as really as I can give you. Especially if we're going to do it, I'm now pretty keen on actually doing that second video with a bit more in-depth look, and we'll go through each one of the ones I've got as well. So let us bring it to a stop in front of the camera again, and we'll bring on our last one. Magnificent locomotive, isn't it? Okay, and on to our third and final locomotive with the use of the D52 boiler. So this is the E10, represented here by Micro Race's model of E10-3. I realise I'm going to need the numbers for you, the two. I'll sort that out at the end. We'll mention them. You've probably seen them already, to be fair. But yes, so E10s. In 1948, the 4110 class of 010 locomotive, initially built by a company in Germany. I'm full of the facts, aren't I, really? I think what I'm going to have to do is have to go through a class by class video, showcase the ones I've got in model and try and find out as much as I can and give you them properly, but we'll call this the brief overview. It's more about the boiler anyway. So yes, E10 in 1948, the E10 locomotives appear. The 4110 class, they built by a company in Germany in 1914, and then further versions are built in Japan, are getting a bit old. They are needing replacement, but Japan has just come out of a very costly war. Resources are low, and there is a ban on building new locomotive classes. Existing proven classes can still be manufactured, but there is a ban on new classes. However, it is recognised that the 4110s they've had it, basically. They have absolutely had it, and they need replacing. So, I want to say it's Hideo Shimina, is allowed to design. He actually designed the ones that were built in Germany as well. He designed this, and these came out. Now these use a modified version of the D52's boiler, so it's still essentially that same boiler. And the reason they were built, I'm not sure why they had to be tank engines. Obviously, the space limitations at either end or something like that. I don't know. They were built for a specific line, which required a very powerful locomotive to work up some very steep grades. And this was the answer they came up with, was the E10. And again, in the more in-depth video, I can fall back on that now. In the more in-depth video, we'll go over what line that was and so on. Again, an engine I associate mostly with freight, probably because of my British aspect coming through, and an engine with multiple small wheels is a freight engine as opposed to a passenger engine. However, in the UK, a large tank engine with multiple small wheels like this would normally be a hump shunt engine, an engine for working big marshalling yards and that sort of thing, doing a lot of switching or shunting, depending on which version you prefer. I don't know. I think there's more sophistication with shunting. It's more excellent than switching, but I don't know. Depends what you go with. Of course, folks, the joke is the same thing, different words. I don't want to be accused of downplaying something because I make it clear with a joke. But anyway, yes. So that is the E10 there, and again, this model's by Microways. Interestingly, a 210-4 rearrangement. Much more familiar with tank engines being 210-2s, the biggest. But yes, we have a 210-4 here. And I'm guessing that 4 is to allow for a larger coal bunker to be placed above it, because that's got quite a substantial coal bunker for a tank engine, I've got to say. Yes, Microways. Now, there's one area I've identified quite quickly on this locomotive that needs improvement. The front pony wheel is pure silver. It would benefit from having the centre made black. That really is flying. Sorry about that. So yes, a couple of things here to address on it, but overall, a very nice model, a very smooth runner from Microways, and like I say, I've not seen anyone else do it. So very pleased to have one of these. It's very hard to find them as well. But yes, let me bring that to a stop in front of the camera for you. Good brakes in it as well, apparently. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So there we are, the E10-3, going in reverse order now. Previously we had C6222. I wonder why I chose that number. And D52-235. Let my eyes rest there. Which is really bad that I'm trying to read it off the number plate when it's written inside the box, but hey. Because that's the only thing about the Microways trains, you don't get to choose the number of the engine, it comes as what it comes as. I forgot to mention though, there is one E10 preserved. It's actually only one of the E10s and only one of the 411Os preserved in Japan. E10-2 is the one preserved, and if you search on search any of these up on Google or whatever your chosen image search is, you should be able to find some nice photographs of the locomotives in situ. But yes, so thank you for watching, arigato. If you enjoyed, please do feel free to like, comment, subscribe. If you do have any information that's able to correct anything I was incorrect on, then please do leave it down in a constructive manner in the comments below. We're all here to learn. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Till then, sayonara.